You're tuned in to the Brand Ambassador Select Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of the Brand Ambassador Select Podcast. I'm your host, Lenore. So today we're going to highlight yet another incredibly successful author and entrepreneur. Doug Cooper set out on his own journey, traveling to over 25 countries on 5 different continents, exploring the contradiction between what we believe and how we act into the pursuit of truth, beauty, and love. Not only is he the founder of Trubello Development, a consulting firm dedicated to helping businesses and individuals grow, but he is also the author of the award-winning novels Outside In, The Investment Club, and the 2019 thriller Focus Lost. Doug is currently working on his 4th novel, Nice to See Me. Doug Cooper, welcome to the Brand Ambassador Select Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So I gotta know, you started out as a teacher. What began your journey as an author?
Yeah, and it was a math teacher as well. So, being a 17-year-old kid, when they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up? It was either, well, I think I want to teach and coach, and it's either math or English. Those were my 2 favorite subjects. And I had always kind of had this left-right brain duality going on. And being a 17-year-old boy, I was like, well, what's going to be easier? I don't want to have to grade all these long papers. So I chose math. And then about my junior year in undergrad, I started realizing this right brain was really growing and creativity started bursting. But I went ahead and got my degree. And I taught for about 5 years, mostly junior high, algebra, pre-algebra. But in that time, I realized, what I really want to do is write fiction. So I got a master's in American Studies, History, Literature, Philosophy on American Culture from St. Louis University, and then decided I'm gonna be a writer and started on the journey to figure out how to write and how to get published and how to sell books.
So you do have 3 novels that are already out, award-winning novels. You have Outside In, The Investment Club, and your 2019 thriller, Focus Lost. Over the years of you writing, has your writing style changed or the process changed at all?
Yeah, I think the style, people that read all 3 books can definitely tell that I wrote them all. They say my voice is there, but the style is a very lean, very economical storytelling, but I probably started a little more on the literary side, literary fiction, more character driven, and then I'm going more towards thrillers. And one of the things that I learned is, in the end, a book is a product, and it's a entertainment or educational product people read for all different kinds of reasons. So it's kind of merging more towards thriller. I'm reading more thrillers. I think people like that kind of shock and twists and turns that a thriller, but I still definitely keep my literary roots. And I really believe in writing that I like to texture my novels so that if people really like those literary connections and those nuggets and those Easter eggs in there, I really bury a lot of literary stuff and symbolism and themes in there for the people that want to unpack and chew on that kind of stuff.
So I was reading that you have 4 types of research you do when crafting a novel: empirical, repurposed, academic, and inventive. Can you explain a little bit about those?
Yeah, so, initially in my first 3 novels, I really use setting a lot in my storytelling. It's almost like another character. And the settings are all very different. They're all standalone novels. And for example, Outside In is set on an island in Lake Erie. The Investment Club is set in Las Vegas, and Focus Lost is set in Los Angeles. 3 very different places. So there's different ways that you approach, to learn about a place or your subject matter. Academic is obviously just bearing your nose in books, and, empirical is more the investigative, there's also like that just hands-on. So my first 2 novels, I lived on this island in Lake Erie, really got to know it, really absorbed it, almost like a method actor would, being more of a method writer. And I lived in Vegas for 4 years while I was writing that book to really absorb and understand the culture and the people. But I started to realize, hey, if I'm going to move every time I'm going to write a book, I don't know if I can maintain that. So I have to develop ways to really learn the subject matter without maybe having to experience it firsthand. So that's where those kind of 4 different techniques arise from. So the third novel that's in Los Angeles, while I was in Vegas, my publisher's based in Los Angeles. So I was taking trips there, doing more visits, and have learned how to really get the same depth of knowledge and use that in the novel without having to actually live there.
So many writers do often draw experience and inspiration through, like, you know, all the places that you lived and the people that are around you. This is obviously something that you've done in your novels, as you just say, but did you change the names of people? Are there specific people that you can like pinpoint out, like, that's Johnny from the grocery store and that's exactly what this novel's about? Yeah,
you know, it's interesting because people really, when they read, they'll come to me and they'll be like, oh, that's so-and-so, or that's so-and-so. And it's really not anybody specific. It's just kind of taking and creating. When I create a character, I do very structured personality profiles. I mean, even down to giving them a Myers-Briggs personality type and building them out. So most of the characters are an amalgamation of different people. But what's interesting is people will see other people in those characters and they'll kind of make that. And I always say, you know, I protect the names I change the names to protect the guilty. So there's nothing in there, but there's a lot of truth in my writing, and a lot of it's based on personal experience or people experiences that I've had. And I say I'll never tell what's real. There's a reason why I write fiction. I know with Outside In, it was about a 28-year-old kid who became the opposite to understand who he truly was and really got into drugs and sex and alcohol and just went on this journey of becoming. And my grandmother, who just turned 95 a couple weeks ago, she read it and she was like, you know, I really enjoyed that. I just have one question.
Is it you,
Douglas? How much of this is true? Are you the lead character? And I was like, Grandma, that's all fiction. You know, I have a big imagination.
I'm picturing a grandma, not your specific grandma. I'm picturing a grandma asking you that, like, hey, honey, like, is this something you're trying to tell me? It's like, no, I'm a writer for a reason, Grandma. I'm glad you like the book.
Yeah. Everybody, when they read that, especially Outside In, they think, oh, that's your life story. And there's some big twists and turns and events. I'm like, you better picture somebody else. Like I would always tell people at the time, that was written about 6 years ago, that I said, picture Joseph Gordon-Levitt as the main character. I was trying to move it away from me because I didn't want people, and they talk to me, they say, oh, you know, in the book, when you do this, I'm like, remember, these are characters that are doing these things.
Yeah. So you have traveled like literally all over the world, probably everywhere. What is one of the most favorite places that you've ever lived in?
Yeah, so I lived in Norway for 5 years in Oslo. And when I lived there, I really did a lot of traveling, was doing a lot of international business consulting and business development. So I really got to see a lot of different places, from Australia to Brazil, all through Europe. And my three favorite places are Rome. I love the anonymity and the history of Rome and how you can just go and get lost, and it's such a walkable city. And I love Tokyo. I love the people, the culture, and it's just such an intriguing place. And probably the order of everything there just appeals to that left brain of mine. But just the food, the people, just so good. And then Brazil, Rio and Sao Paulo, I just really, the people are so warm, and the culture there is just really enjoyable. So those are all my three favorite places that I'll go back to again and again.
So Focus Loss is your most recent novel, and it is a thriller. But what makes that book so special in that specific category?
there's usually seminal texts that I kind of weave in, and the title Focus Lost draws from Milton's Paradise Lost. So it really has a lot of biblical symbolism. It goes, back to that Garden of Eden, Adam, Eve, and Satan, and the three main characters are modeled after those. So Levi Combs is an actor, and he's kind of the devil character, and Ava is the Eve character. She's his agent. And then there's a nature photographer, Gabriel Adams, who's the Adam character. So it's this triangle about those three and that line between passion and obsession and what happens when you cross it.
Now, the readers who are reading your book right now, obviously, what's the goal? What do you want them to get out of it?
Yeah, I think how just that line between passion and obsession exists in us all. That good and that evil is really in us all, and we can all be pushed over that line from time to time, and all probably have in different degrees. Probably not to the degree that these characters have gone, but really to see each of those, the Adam, the Eve, the Satan character in themselves.
So some of your favorite authors that inspired you. Go.
Yeah, Edgar Allan Poe. You'll get a lot of Edgar Allan Poe in my writing. Hunter S. Thompson. I think that just gonzo reporting journalism style of just very detailed, almost that it does feel like reporting at times. And then Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho, was probably when I determined that I wanted to be a writer, reading that book, and it was just so detailed and so visceral that it was probably one of the things that moved me the most, that I just was so intrigued how somebody could create this world that was so believable, and whether it was, such that line between when something's in your mind and when you actually create it and experience it. So those are probably the three biggest influences when I look back.
So I heard that you're working on another book, right?
Yep.
Tell us all about it. It's called Nice to See Me, correct?
Nice to See Me. That's right. It's about a lot about narcissism, and which I think is a very hot topic right now. And it's about it's set in the town, a lakeside town, and about how people just really disappear in plain sight, both figuratively and literally. There's a group of kids that are playing in a lakeside park, and they all of a sudden they're gone, and the town goes on lockdown, assume that it's some kind of abduction, and then all of a sudden one of the girls turns back up but won't say anything about where she's been. And then one night she wakes up her father and takes him to the park and shows him how and what is happening. And so you'll have to wait for it and read it to find out what happens.
So my eyes, went all over the place, but even our engineer on the other, I was like, wait, what? What's going on over there? So when is it being released?
Yeah, I'm kind of right in the middle of it. I'll be done with it. The goal is end of August, so probably a next fall release. So 2021 fall is what the target's going to be. And usually I'm doing right now about a book every 2 years, and that's just really to kind of give the market a chance to absorb and get it. And hopefully at some point, it'll be about one a year. That's about a pace that I could do. It takes me about 6 months if I keep my nose to the grindstone and the distractions at bay, which is sometimes difficult.
Oh, I got you on that. So all three books that you have out right now, Outside In, The Investment Club, and Focus Lost, can be purchased on your website, correct? Buycooper.com?
Yeah, website, anywhere books are sold. You can go to, your local bookstore, really try to support all those local bookstores now, especially, but even going forward, because, they're really such a big part of our community. So any of the bookstores can order it, any of the online retailers, they're all available from my publisher, Rare Bird Books, which is, like I said, based in Los Angeles. So
aside from being an author, you are also the founder of Trubello Development, which is a consulting firm really helping businesses and individuals grow. How did you, well, really, what inspired you to start that?
Well, similar to like with my writing, I was a math teacher and I wanted to become a writer. And so I had an idea, I had a passion, and I had to figure out how to go through and really launch and go in a direction I didn't know. So in doing that, I've really crafted some different techniques to take ideas, from just that very nebulous, hey, I got this thing I want to do, to a very tangible plan, into an executable project and deliverable. So that's really what I do with businesses and individuals, is whether it's through business planning or, they got an idea, an invention, something that they want to do, and it's taking that idea and converting it to a result.
I absolutely love it. And we can go to trubello.com, correct, to have anybody have your help?
That's right. Yeah, just go to the website. That's TRUB like boy, ELO.com, and you can engage with me there. And I do, free initial consulting just to talk and kind of map out what the thing is, and then we go from there.
So again, for more information on Doug Cooper or to purchase any of his books, you can head to buycooper.com. That's BY Cooper, COOPER.com. You can always follow on socials too. Buy Cooper on Facebook and Dougie Coop on Instagram. Also, if you're a business or an individual that wants to learn to grow as well, trubello.com, TRUBELO.com. Now, Doug, before we get off, throughout all of your adventures and all of your travels in life, what piece of advice do you have for our listeners?
Yeah, just keep going. I mean, there's so many reasons to stop, but just keep going. As much as we try to carve out the path and we build a plan out, all the cool stuff really happens in between the things that we plan. The main thing is just being resilient and just going forward towards your dreams.
And for future authors and writers out there?
Yeah, just don't take no for an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough journey, but you gotta keep going, and that's why what you write about is faith and belief in yourself and your subject matter.
Doug Cooper, thanks again so much for joining us today on another episode of the Brand Ambassador Select podcast. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button wherever you may be listening so you don't miss an episode. I'm your host, Lenora, and we'll see you back for another episode very soon.